Pilgrimage is something that is really important to me. And the pilgrimage that I went on for my birthday this year was one of the most important and impactful that I ever went on in my life. And I want to invite you to join me for some of the key points, the high points in this incredible pilgrimage that I went on. So buckle up. This is a visual feast. I'm going to be taking you off to Wales, and you're going to be coming with me to explore my emotions as I give myself to the exploration of one of my favourite poets of all time, Dylan Thomas. He is my favourite poet of all recorded time. I love him. And the pilgrimage was all about going to his birthplace, the home where he lived, and even to his grave. So let's go, guys. Something about the entire art of pilgrimage does make one particularly hungry, so excuse me while I nom some sushi on the train. Sushi is one of my all-time favourite foods, and yes, it is very appropriate for vegans. There is a lot about sushi that is not to do with raw fish, and so I partook of a little bit of this deliciousness on the way there, so that was all very beautiful for me, for my stomach and for my mind. If you ever get the supreme privilege of taking the train from England to Wales, definitely be looking out of the window. There is so much colour, so much vibrancy. It's beautiful whatever time of year and whatever time of day, as long as it's not obviously pitch black when you travel. I did a lot of looking out of the window on the course of this journey, and also I read a lot of Dylan Thomas, which is kind of obvious, right? When you give yourself to pilgrimage, you give yourself fully to the subject matter. I finally arrived in Swansea, the birthplace of Dylan Thomas, and a city which he wrote so much about. And I was greeted outside my hotel, the Dragon Hotel in Swansea, by this beautiful fairy light tree, which made me feel all warm and fuzzy and ready for the immense amount of information and emotion that I was about to be taking on for the next few days. When you're on a pilgrimage, that's all about honouring and connecting with a poet, an author, a playwright. Obviously, you've got to go to bed reading their stuff. So here's me with Portrait of the Artist as a Young Dog. After a very well-earned sleep, I woke up feeling meditative, reflective, excited, emotional, because I'm about to go to the birthplace of Dylan Thomas and the home where he spent his childhood, the home where he was born on 5 Cwmdonkin Drive. So this is going to be a really gorgeous exploration. Let me take you with me. The lovely woman that let me into 5 Cwmdonkin Drive when I arrived there told me that I should begin my self-guided tour in the same room where Dylan Thomas began his life, which obviously gave me all the goosebumps and all the butterflies. So she directed me to the front bedroom, and here it is. This is the bedroom where Dylan Thomas's mother Florence gave birth to him in 1914, and I was psyched to be here. This room is reproed to how it would have looked at the time and decorated in the style. I don't want you to think that everything's been perfectly preserved from 1914 to now, because that isn't the case, but it's been beautifully reproed, and you can see the family photographs, the image of Dylan as a little boy, and so all of that stuff was really great to kind of just absorb, and I stayed in that room for quite a long time, getting really spiritual with it, guys. When you have been in love with the work of a writer or a musician for so long, you've read all kinds of different facts about their life, you know, you can really credit them with being a big part of what made you who you became as a person. I cannot recommend enough, if you possibly can, walking around their old haunts, or, you know, their birthplace, or the home that they grew up in, whatever you can get your hands on that's possible for you. It really feels so magical. And yes, although it might seem obvious to a lot of people, when I arrived at Dylan Thomas's bedroom, the bedroom where he spent his childhood and his adolescence, and where he wrote some of his very early poems and still considered to be some of the most important, I did cry. Yeah, for sure. It really hit me like a ton of mystical bricks. Being in his bedroom was everything. I waited for so long to do it. Dylan Thomas was 39 when he died in 1953. And when I was on this pilgrimage, I was coming up for my 40th birthday. So I am now officially outliving him. And so it felt really poignant as well to be able to come to this bedroom at this time in my life and to be in the presence of the energy that still lingers there, very much so. This was really about paying homage. It was about paying homage. It was about presence. It was about honouring. It was about confirming for myself something that has been true so many times. I've gone through the pages of his poetry books and read his play, and, you know, it's just really about connecting so much with who he was as a human being and the spirit of him as an icon as well. And I loved, by the way, this bust of his head in the hallway. So moody and yeah, really gorgeous with the light playing on it there. I loved moving around the rest of the house, getting a feel for all the little details and again, feeling the energy. I'm a super spiritual person and I feel like energy is something that just really influences me. So it was really cool to be able to do that and go into his sister's room, etc. It was lovely. I couldn't resist going back into Dylan Thomas's childhood and teenage bedroom and just lifting the window to see the wall of the house opposite, which is something he would have seen so many times. Okay, you can't repro that shit. That is actually literally what he saw as a teenager when he lifted his curtain. The spirit of place is so important and it's so interesting to feel into. And as I've gotten older, I've just realized that more and more. So standing in the kitchen where Dylan Thomas would have eaten toast and had his tea and spoken to the help that they hired, you know, to be a part of the family there, that was really, really awesome. And also being in his back garden was like very much vibes and atmosphere. And here's the plaque on the front wall of the house. Obviously, you know, I got photos of that and that was cool as well. Over the road is Cwmdonkin Park, and this is one of the really important places to go if you're a massive Dylan fanatic. In the poem Should Lanterns Shine, Dylan Thomas wrote, "The ball I threw while playing in the park has not yet reached the ground." And he's writing about Cwmdonkin Park. He also spoke about it in one of his radio broadcasts, saying it was like a world within the world of the sea town, full of terrors and treasures. This was the park he grew up in, and he says that clearly. He says, that park grew up with me, that small iron-railed universe of rockery, gravel path, playbank. And he goes on and he says that he endured with pleasure the first agonies of unrequited love in that park, the first slow boiling in the belly of a bad poem, the strutting and raven-locked self-dramatization of what at the time seemed incurable adolescence. He's very romantic about nostalgia and he loved this park, okay? It shows up a lot in his writing, so it was magical to be here. Naturally, I had to stop at the Dylan Thomas Cafe in Cwmdonkin Park, and I just really blissfully had some coffee and I read actually his love letters. You can read a collection of his love letters. They are fire, okay? Nobody wrote love letters like Dylan Thomas. It was all very romantic, darling. And then I went out to stand by the fountain, which is featured in his poem Hunchback in the Park, and that was really moving to be able to be near that fountain. And then I wandered around wistfully for a while and I really didn't want to leave, guys, but I had other plans. I had to go to the Dylan Thomas exhibition and I had to meet my wonderful friend Isha, who you will know as Activist Witch, who lives in Cardiff and came to meet with me. So I had other stuff to do, but it was really majestic to be here. On the way from Cwmdonkin Park, walking out of Uplands, I was treated to this beautiful skyline. And then, of course, as is always the case in the UK, you can just randomly walk past some like 11th century castle ruins hemmed in by modern buildings. It's very, very surreal here in this island, okay? So that was really awesome to see. The Dylan Thomas exhibit is a definite must. I really rate it, guys. I had an amazing time walking around and I went like in the middle of a weekday, in the morning of a weekday, so there was really no one else there, which was bliss for me. It's got lots of different information and details and things that your Dylan Thomas geek and just somebody who's curious about this incredible bard of Wales will be very happy to know. So definitely take your time, walk around, take in all of the different lovely information about Dylan Thomas, his personality, who his friends were, what his childhood was like, you know, and how he became this renowned poet and playwright that we admire today. The highlight for me was seeing this tweed suit that belonged to Dylan Thomas. Standing by this tweed suit was very emotional for me as someone who is always seeking greater closeness and understanding of this incredible figure in my life. Now it's time for me to take you to the observatory where I'm going to meet up with Activist Witch. Oh my gosh, you can't imagine how excited I was at this point. It was very, very nice to walk from the exhibit around the harbour and then make my way towards the observatory, which actually looks very cool from the outside. So I definitely recommend this place, guys. If you're in Swansea and you're looking for a nice place to get coffee, the observatory is definitely the place. And you can see from the inside, like it's just very beautiful. There's plants everywhere. I was sat right next to the gorgeous furnace, so the fire was burning and I was nice and warm. And then I actually got to meet Isha and it was so awesome. And we sat talking together for like 4 hours, just nattering. And I could fully recommend that if you ever get the opportunity as well. I woke up early in the morning at the Dragon Hotel in Swansea because I was filled with excitement, because I knew, okay, this is the day I'm going to check out and I'm going to make my way to the town of Laugharne, which is where Dylan Thomas spent 9 years living, and more on and off, I think, but like 9 years in a row living there. It is the town that we commonly believe that the play Under Milkwood was based on. He loved the town of Laugharne and wrote a lot about the town and its people. And so here's a little view of the Christmas tree in the hotel room in the darkness, because yes, I am up legitimately that early. And I did a bit of meditating, a bit of journaling, and just like inhaling all of the incredible meaning and magnitude of doing the pilgrimage. And I just want to say, guys, as we're going on the train to Carmarthen now, which is what you're seeing out of the window here, my train journey was beautiful. I just want to say that, pilgrimage is something that is very personal, and what gives meaning to you in life and what is profound to you is also incredibly personal. Don't let anyone ever tell you that something isn't important or something isn't meaningful. Whatever it is that has given you life, that has helped you thrive, and that has informed you as a human being is what is worth doing pilgrimage around. And that's anything, okay? That's stuff around a movie, around a place, around a person, around a culture. Anything like that, you can do a really beautiful and meaningful pilgrimage. And let me just show you the skyline on the bus journey from Carmarthen to Laugharne. Okay, so I had to go to Carmarthen on the train, then I had to get a bus, a bumpy bus, to Laugharne and look at the sunset, guys, as I was entering this really important and sacred town for Dylan Thomas in his life. This was just madness and magic. I checked into Brown's Hotel in Laugharne when I arrived. It is one of the most important buildings for Dylan Thomas fanatics. It is where he used to go to drink and do the crossword with his dad and talk to people and write poems, and they even had his wake in this building. So this is a big deal to be staying here. Okay, so it's the next morning now, and there is some time to get in some of that essential Dylan Thomas reading. These are just some of the books that I either brought with me or I bought when I was in Swansea. Okay, it's kind of a mixture of both. And it was very decadent to be able to read Dylan Thomas in Brown's Hotel, so that was super magical. There are those moments in life where you know that what you're about to do is going to change you. And at times like that, I like to find a mirror and look into it. And so that's me doing exactly this, okay? Because I'm about to walk to the boathouse where Dylan Thomas lived with his wife and 3 children. Magic! On the way towards the boathouse, you reach Dylan Thomas's writing shed. And this is a shed that he had erected just a little way down the road from his actual residence. So he could kind of like, sneak off after breakfast and go and do his writing whilst looking out at the glorious estuary of the River Taff. And I must say that being able to look inside the writing shed, being able to stand by it and look out over the very view that he looked out over was really quite something. This was a majestic experience. I have wanted to actually be at this writing shed so many times in my life. And when I imagine Dylan Thomas at work, this is the kind of thing that I imagine. I imagine the writing shed. It's so iconic, guys. It is iconic. So the fact that I was standing here and the fact that I can now show you this epic moment is really meaningful and gorgeous. It was very special. It was a very warm moment for me. I took my very last look at the boathouse, and it was very sad to say goodbye. I have to say, I know that I am going to be back. I just literally can't help myself. And it was beautiful to have a look at these incredible, gorgeous, expansive, inspiring views on the way back. And again, to get into that meditative state, to give myself wholly and fully to the art of pilgrimage that I've waited so long to do. And before I knew it, I was back at Brown's. And this is the sign outside with his face on it. Let's call this part the crescendo of the pilgrimage. This is me taking flowers to the grave of Dylan Thomas in St Martin's churchyard. This was big, guys. This was a big moment. It's very exciting when you first spot Dylan Thomas's grave amidst all of the other sort of fancy, more classic looking headstones. His is this very delicate, unassuming, simple white cross, which is really powerful. At the grave, I cried. And I marvelled at all of the incredible experiences I'd had over the course of the pilgrimage. I also listened to the recording of Dylan Thomas reading Fern Hill, which is one of my favourite poems by Dylan Thomas. And then I laid my flowers, and that was just so powerful. So powerful. Also, look at this really goth image of the churchyard at night. My incredibly romantic partner drove from the east coast of England all the way to Laugharne to see me for my birthday and brought me an extraordinary amount of gifts. Very decadent. I won't take you on the rest of the time because it's with him, we're just enjoying ourselves. But here's some incredible footage of the Brecon Beacons. We went walking in the Brecon Beacons. We walked up this massive peak. We were in the clouds at the top. It was gorgeous, guys, like a beautiful end to the Dylan Thomas portion of the programme. Darlings, thank you so much for going on this Dylan Thomas pilgrimage journey with me. I have been geek juicing, nerd juicing all over you. So thanks for sticking with me and enjoying the visuals and listening to the information. Pilgrimage is sacred. You can go on long pilgrimages, short pilgrimages. You can go on decadent, expensive ones. You can go on cheap as chips ones, You can go on ones that are just around the corner. You can go on astral pilgrimages. You can go on pilgrimages into your own childhood or into the childhood of a deceased rock star, writer, whatever it is you want to do. There are so many more pilgrimages that I would like to do. This one, though, was just truly epic. Get at me down below. Let me know, what pilgrimages have you been on? What pilgrimages would you like to go on? Do you feel inspired by this video to do something like this? And where would you want to go? What do you want to do? Get at me. Let me know what you're nerdy about, what you geek out over. And also read some Dylan Thomas, okay? Like, if you don't know where to start, I actually compiled a list of my top 10 personal favorite Dylan Thomas poems for somebody the other day on Instagram, so I'll leave that in the description bar. Thanks again, and thank you to my many, many audience members and clients who have made it possible for me to do what I do full time and use some of the money from my vocation to be able to do something like this for myself. It's been so beautiful. It's opened my imagination. I feel so expansive and so healed as a result of doing this. So thank you. Thank you for sharing. Thank you for joining. Until next time, my darlings, much love and blessed be.